Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a new episode of So Bad It's Good. Today, I always like to have up-and-comers. I feel kind of like it's me, like Johnny Carson, waving somebody over to the couch. And these two kids have, I have the number one group of people that do this, that inspire me on a daily basis. I know this is mushy, but I'll just make them hear it. A quick story. I first heard of Watch What Crappens because my friend Molly McAleer invited me. She was a guest at a hotel. They were doing like a podcast fest, and she invited me, and it was like 70 people in a room, and it was packed. And I was like, 70 people? These guys are like Springsteen. And they were doing voices, and Molly was great, and all of this. I'd never seen anything like it. I had never really even known. Molly was like my first entrance into any of this stuff. And I was like, wow, how does it get bigger than this? And then they have now just celebrated their 10th anniversary Hunky Dory tour, sold out everywhere. I mean, I've been to their crappy awards where I thought there was going to be a breakdown where people were going to be wrestling. They were so excited. I thought chairs are going to get lifted up and thrown, but they constantly recap the most amazing shows that we love, and they are the most amazing, funny people. I got to fill in for Ben a couple months ago because he was sick, unfortunately, but it was truly one of the best moments doing what I do to be able to do that. But Ronnie Karam, Ben Mandelker, Watch What Crappens, welcome back to the show.
Oh wow, Ryan! Thank you so much. You always get such good intros. Wow,
and that's where it ends. Like that's the best part. Like you can stop the show right here.
That's the only reason I come.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's that, Ben?
I was gonna say you're also so generous. That show we definitely did not have 70 people. I think we had 22 people max.
Yeah, it was.
But in my head, it was like it was a gladiator scene. I was like, "How this is huge."
And then they tucked us in the back. It was some podcast festival, like I don't know what it was, but they had everyone in these rooms that were like all around these big rooms, and they put us in this like back room. You had to walk across like a bridge over an atrium to get to this little thing in the corner. And they were like, yeah, the Bravo podcast can go back there.
We felt like that too, because that was the first thing that we had ever done like that,
Yeah,
and we showed up like that too. We were like, oh my god, like they had a pre-party and we came and we were all dressed up and we were like sipping our drinks, like, oh my god, it's the Doughboys.
No, I remember it was like at a fancy, the fancy hotel by the Beverly. Yeah, Sofitel. And I remember getting a drink with Molly, and it was like a $16 drink. And I was like, wow, I'm at a place with $16 drinks. This is incredible. And look at us all now. Also, you guys, watch whatcrappens.com.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I had tiny bottles in my pocket that day. I had like 4 of the airline bottles of vodka in my pocket that day. I remember. And I was ordering club soda from the bar and pouring my tiny vodka bottles in there.
And actually, $16. a lady came to that show from Arizona. She drove from Arizona and she gave us like prickly pear preserves or jam or something like that. We're like, wow, I can't believe anyone would do that for us. We're like, wow.
I forgot to mention this earlier, but it'll be in the show notes. You guys already know. Watch whatcrappens.com. Remember the Patreon. You can actually watch all of these shows live, like on demand. You get 2 million monthly followers, probably more at this point, which is kind of, if you think about it, like 2 sets of those Erica Jane earrings I was thinking about.
Are you going to go to her estate sale?
You know what, Ben, that's a great question. But after you've gone to the Girardi Keese estate sale, and I purchased so much, this is how you see that no women actually come into my bedroom. I have, this is from the Girardi, this is his in his office, that a Girardi Keese. I have an oil painting hanging over my bed. I have the lingerie. I blew my load, as Craig Conover would say, on that estate sale. And at this point, I'm like, you know what? I think I'm good on the Pasadena house sale.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's all moldy stuff.
Well, I was going to say, and I've told this I do have 2 awards with your names on it given to Tom Girardi.
We hear that every time.
Dude, I have literally, I'm looking at, I have 40 law trophies that got in a grab bag box for like $60. And that's what's so funny is that this guy spent his entire career doing this, and then some jokester like me buys his whole box of awards. Like, it just means nothing because he ended up being a complete creep.
Yeah,
it is.
I can't wait.
poetic ending for his career. that his trophies, like the symbols of his work, winds up in the hand of the podcasters that help take him
down. Okay, so the state of Bravo right now, we're nearing the end of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and Southern Charm. Southern Charm will be their final episode this week. I'm not sure when this will air, but it'll have ended and the reunion will have started. And Beverly Hills, I mean, it just feels like it's forever. You guys are also doing the Winter is Crappening. You're doing the new House of Dragon, which is that like the biggest refreshing thing for you guys to be able to do when you talk about Bravo all the time?
It's not that different.
At first, I mean, it's weird because it's not as campy, but then once we get into it, it's the same shit. It's just making fun of implants and Botox. You know,
there's a lot of similarities between like, I don't know, like Lisa Rinna and like a fire breathing dragon. So I mean, it's not a crazy leap for us to go there.
Who's going to be the next queen? You know, that's a lot. It's like,
the crown is heavy. Yeah,
the crown is heavy, darlings. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if everything got blamed on Lisa Vanderpump in the end.
Yeah, like all the Targaryen. The plight of the Targaryens is because of Lisa Vanderpump. Like she like leaked the Targaryens' battle plan to Radar Online, and they're like, "Oh, we would have won, but Lisa Vanderpump leaked it to Radar Online, the scroll version."
I know we're laughing right now, folks, but we do want to talk about a serious topic too. Is that of something that afflicts a lot of us is PTSD. It's such a serious illness, and Lisa Rinna caught it. I don't know if it's something you catch or like, monkeypox, but it was a PTSD and Lisa got it from Kathy Hilton. And she let everybody, poor Crystal, she had to pull aside and say, I have to leave because I am so upset. And Lisa Rinna has been on the show for so long. And I just was so shocked that whatever Kathy did in this night that we will never, ever see or hear about, we will just it's like a story passed down from generations. I mean, what is your actual opinion on this? I mean, this to me was just a bridge too far.
Well, look, PTSD isn't just from one event. It's an accumulation of things. And in this case, I think it probably started with the post-traumatic sauce syndrome.
Or Stassi syndrome.
I was like, Stassi? Stassi's back?
Let's be honest.
Stassi called the cops on her for something she didn't do, and things just never got better.
Yeah, I think for sure, Lisa, this is just like the crack formed with the bolognese sauce and the ingratitude surrounding that sauce. And then, by the time it got to Kathy Hilton, it just had ripped wide open and there was nothing left for her to do, but just to give herself over to it.
But there's like the thing is, I know Kathy Hilton's probably not a great person deep down. I know I don't take my cues on how to treat people from these ladies, none of them. And all of these ladies, isn't the whole point that all of these ladies have explosions at some point? So Lisa telling me that Kathy has one, I don't not buy it, but then for her to go get PTSD from it, also to go back to the Aspen Lounge and she hulks out, she's stomping, and Lisa literally says she has to barricade herself in a room. And you're telling me that she couldn't have any, she knows how to work the phone to argue with Bravo Instagram people. You don't think she would hit record and say, listen to this, Erica?
Well, I mean, the thing
makes her. Oh, go ahead, Ben.
I was just going to say that the reason why it's frustrating is that, with Lisa Rinna, she's so sanctimonious about, actually, not just Lisa, but Lisa and Kyle and Dorit and Erica. They're so sanctimonious about these things about you have to be open and honest, whatever. So they sort of parade about this notion that they are virtuous people who care, etc. So you're right. It's not crazy. Kathy Hilton is probably a pretty evil person, but she's not pretending to be someone who's open and honest and good and pure.
Yeah, this is not a nunnery.
They also, this show in particular, all of the Real Housewives are famous for this, but especially this one. They don't know how to read the audience. They don't know how to read the room, right? They never know what the audience is going to think. And they come for these huge people thinking that they're going to win these battles. It's you're telling me on TV that Kathy had a breakdown because Kyle's a shithead and called Kyle a bad sister and a user and said that she's going to ruin her life. And I'm supposed to be mad at Kathy. I got a finger with that lady's name on it.
I was by the way, I want to see that film just because I would enjoy it. I wouldn't be mad at her. I would have been like, yes, amazing. I love this. And also we've seen Rinna even just 3 episodes prior, like using a full scream shout, like Rinna Rose at her own house. Harry had to go take a walk. He was so traumatized. And I mean, just fully screaming 2 episodes in a row.
I will fucking end you.
Yeah. Like, like it was even too much. I love bad acting. I'm a bad actor, and that was even too much for me. And so for Lisa to be scared of whatever Kathy did, that makes me really want to see it because it impresses me.
Yeah, she didn't do anything. She went off on Kyle and called Kyle a user bitch, and I'm for it.
Yeah, wait. Yeah, you don't like Kyle, right, Ronnie? Or you?
No, I've called Kyle since season 2. I liked her season 1. But then after that limo scene with Kim, I saw exactly who Kyle was, and she has just gotten worse. And all the seasons leading up to this one, well, the last couple, I would say, Kyle has done such a good job of pretending to be someone that that the audience really likes. And so we take a lot of crap from people who are like, you guys, Kyle's like the star of the show. And it's so nice to see that mask slip. You know, it's the closest to Phantom of the Opera she's ever going to get. Is that broken ass mask.
Phantom of the soap opera.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, I almost feel like, I mean, these Halloween movies seem like they're Avatar. They have to shoot for years on these movies. This past week's episode, Kyle's like, gotta go back for more shooting. And I'm like, wait a sec, didn't you shoot that? And then I was like, that means more face work usually. Like, I feel like that's the excuse when she gets a nose job or when she's scared to go to something. Michael Myers all of a sudden comes calling. Like, I just don't believe it anymore.
It makes me actually like Kyle because it makes me like her because the normal excuse is, oh, mommy has to go on vacation. But the fact that she's taken it to, oh, mommy has to shoot Halloween as code for get plastic surgery is like actually kind of brilliant, you know. But I agree, and in fact, I was like horrified. You know, I feel like we just as a nation, as a country, as a globe, we got through Halloween Kills, and we're like, oh, well, at least that's done. It's been 2 years of Kyle shooting that and using it as an excuse for bangs and noses and all these things, and now it's done. And then Jamie Lee Curtis pops up. And of course, we should have known because the episode she pops up was also the episode they released the trailer for Halloween Ends. I was like, wait, already? We haven't even had a break from Kills.
It's like a Groundhog Day. Wait, do we know? And I really haven't watched the trailer for the new Halloween because I just assume I know what it is. Does Kyle's character have the same bangs or does Kyle's character get an update? Like, is there a new, like, because sometimes actors will do that, like, just to prove that they can act, is get a new hairstyle. Does Kyle's character still have the bangs? I wonder. Do you guys know?
I don't know because she did not get bangs to go back on that shoot, right? I mean, I would have noticed. I would have been having nightmares about those fucking bangs. You know?
It would be great if Aspen, that's why she didn't do the conga line. She's like, it'll hurt the bangs. I'm growing them out. No.
Maybe she'll be wearing a hat from Kimasabi's in the new one.
Oh, I never, by the way, I mean, my mom always says, like, find what brings you joy in life and go towards that. And I just never knew it could be hats. Like, I was like, oh, it can be that simple, like hats. Like, I've never, like, those hats are like family to Kyle.
Well, that's what Kyle is. That is who Kyle is. She builds her personality around things like that. You know, it's like, I have checkered floors now. Like that's her personality for the season.
I know.
Like, I got a neon sign in my living room, and it's like they're all copying other people's things.
You're never going to be Casey Musgraves.
Kyle. It was almost as bad as those snippets of biography that they give on Great British Bake Off. Like on Great British Bake Off,
I love
it's always like Gemma works at home and loves planting cacti. But like Kyle's like, okay, that's all I need. Hats. I love hats. When I was a kid, I loved wearing hats. My mom loved hats. And now I wear hats.
By the way, Great British Bake Off, I talked about it on the show last week. It's like my comfort. Like when like I get so upset about like women yelling at each other and it's like, you know, taking notes and stuff, that I'll watch the Great British Bake Off and it like just really soothes me and relaxes me. Cause even like the jokes are bad, but it's like all quiet. And it's like, just, you can see the greenery.
Lisa loves playing saxophone with the family in front of the boardwalk with the window open.
Oh yeah, that family from last year. They played trombone. No, it was the German guy. What was his name with his eyebrow?
Like Hans or something.
Jens loves playing trombone with his family.
But Ryan, doesn't that also make you feel like the Real Housewives are real? Because I think people are always complaining, like, oh my God, they're all so fake and they're this, that. No, they're not. It's very real. I mean, I know that some of the setups, you know, like you have to be in
producer
this
setups,
or whatever. I get that, but you know, you watch something like Bake Off, these are the nicest people ever. And everyone works for the NHS. You know, all they want to do is like give you medication for free and like make, you know, brownies while their son plays the saxophone out a window. They're nice people. But as you watch it, you start to see them simmer and become shitty people. Like you see what it does to you. And you're like, if that can do that to these people, then, you know, we really need to respect our housewives more for what they give us.
Exactly. But see, that's why I love the Housewives, those too, is that like exactly what you said, is that the human brain can like kind of realize when something is real, and those little minute, like the minutia details, like Kyle with the hats or Sutton saying she's, you know, a part owner of 2 minor league baseball teams. That kind of minutia that comes out in conversation to me is very real because it's so specific, and it's something that I will just never, like, I always think about Sutton owning a ballet company or like owning, you know, just like
being on the board of
being on the board, like, I'm on the board of a dance company and I own 2 minor league baseball teams. I say, which by the way, Sutton, where are you guys on Sutton? I feel like I'm proud of her for standing up to Erica. I thought she would have backed down this season, but I mean, I don't know if that's just her being ignorant and that pushes her away from fear. What is your guys' take on Sutton?
Listen, I am so proud of her that she has managed to eke out yet another season where she's like, she's really, in many ways she is like the biggest asshole, but somehow is like the hero. And like it's that balloon's, I mean, that bubble's gonna pop. Like she's gonna have like she's gonna get dragged one season, but she's been a total asshole. But we're all like, well, it works for us. It makes me happy.
No, totally. That's what I'm saying. She said that horrific thing at the beginning of the season to Dorit about like, well, we all have problems when like she had a robbery and she's
had
like,
true PTSD.
Yeah, I mean, but then, you know, just comparing to Erica and all of those other ladies, I don't know. And by the way, I know, I don't know if you guys project in like future seasons or what you would like to see, but I think I'm okay at this point with like, I feel like I've seen Erica's journey. I don't think I need to see a comeback tour or her. She's obviously talks about all the sex she gets all the time, but we never even see a shadowy figure in a doorway. I think I'm kind of like, as much as she's done with talking about her legal stuff, I think I'm kind of done watching it as well. But would you guys want to continue to watch Erica in future seasons?
You know, I like so much of it for me is just recapping it, and I like imitating. Like, I don't really imitate her well, but I love doing like a stupid character of Erica. So I want it for that reason, you know. And the Sutton thing, I think Sutton, I think she kind of had a miss of a season, because really what I love about Sutton is when she gets upset and goes off the rails about the dumbest things. Like when Lisa Rinna invited her makeup artist to the Lisa Rinna daughter party or whatever that was. And Sutton was like, how could you? Like, she was like devil.
That is the best version of her.
Her eyes turned into cat eyes, you know how she, like they turned shape. And that's what I need. And this season she almost got there, but then she kept backing down. Like that Dorit thing, that wasn't just like, oh, we all have problems. It was, I don't believe that you got robbed. You lying fucking fraud of a woman with your husband and all of your bullshit businesses. The Bellagio is coming to your house with baseball bats to take the shit that you owe them, and we all fucking know it, Dorit. And I think that that's what she was doing. But
PK is like, Punta Mita. That's where we escape to. Punta Mita. I love
that.
Isn't it funny how PK, I mean, from when he's started to where he is now, how the fans have like really, I mean, in a lot of ways turned for him. Like I remember when I used to compare him to like a big stuffed baked potato with everything. And like, he was annoying everybody. And then it's weird because I feel like as an audience, we sexualize everything and everyone. And then last season, all of a sudden it was like, you know, all of a sudden I would like read online, like I'd fuck PK. Like what? Like we go that far with everything, but PK at the end of the day, allegedly is like a grifter. I mean, allegedly in a lot of ways.
I mean,
he's like Applebee's.
Well, I just want to be nice in case PK's
Listen, PK is like Applebee's, okay? So when he comes onto the scene, we're like, oh, Applebee's. Like, I'm an adult now. I don't go to Applebee's. I live in a city. I don't need that, okay? I go to places that I read about on Eater LA, and I read about this place in the LA Times, and Jonathan Gold recommended this place. And then eventually you sort of say to yourself, you find yourself in the suburbs, and you think, I kind of miss Applebee's. And like somehow you spend so much time being cool that you realize that that good old fashioned bloomin' onion or the Jack Daniels burger ain't so bad. But then you actually go and try it.
Remember times at Applebee's. Like we all remember good times at Applebee's.
No, I'll never shit talk any. Like, by the way, I'm like, I grew up in Kansas. I am purely middle class. Applebee's was considered I remember my friend's birthday party when I was like 11 years old. Patrick Mulcahy had his birthday lunch at Applebee's, and I was like, whoa, like, dude, he is loaded. Like, this is insane.
Came to El Paso, Texas, there was a line out the door for weeks. Like you were calling, like trying to get reservations.
It's like seeing the queen in state,
Yeah, my mom was like, these mozzarella sticks were frozen. And we're like, oh my god, she's such a foodie. Like, no shit, I still think of that. Like, good one, Mom. You sure got him on that one.
I just want to clarify. I don't think that PK is a nostalgic favorite. It's more like sometimes you just get worn down by the pretty things that eventually you say, okay, just give me the Applebee's.
And those new chompers too, the new teeth, amazing.
I think he's better than, I think he's worth it. I mean, I'm not a lover of the guy, but I will say that he's funny. And he does give really good home scenes, and not many people on this show do. The home scenes, the singles,
he sells it.
The solo scenes are terrible, but PKs are always good because they're always like diabetes. Like what number diabetes do you have today? And PK like eating in the middle of the night. Like I love that.
No, it's in my head all him saying Punta Mita. That's like the way he hit the line. Babe. I have like thought about it nonstop. Like he hits lines, he attacks lines so well. And then that Phoenix, man, that's like when that Lady Gaga sings Shallow and A Star Is Born. I was like, she did one little scene, and then she did a little scene last week, you guys, where she was like, Mommy, no soda, coffee. And I was like, give this woman a show. Like this is just Dorit eventually is going to have to like get away from her because it's like she overpowers Dorit.
She really upstaged her brother. I think that the saving grace for PK has been Mauricio, to be honest. I think that I think before PK and Mauricio became a thing, PK was just sort of like this strange guy on the sidelines who would insert himself and say gross comments. But then once he became like a little sidekick to Bert, to Mauricio, because the Ernie to his Bert, essentially. Then it's like, oh, it's sort of cute. He sort of comes around like, hi, Mo. How's it going, Mo? And like seeing him in like the light of a sidekick as like the ugly sidekick to the handsome guy. Not saying that Bert is necessarily more handsome than Ernie, but in this case, Bert is the handsome one. Then suddenly we sort of like can understand PK as like that person. And you're like, oh, okay, I get it. I understand his role.
Because PK never changed, right? His first storyline was looking up Erica's dress, was seeing Erica's JJ. That was his first thing. And he was such a creep about it. He was a creep about it the entire season, then again at the reunion. And then this season at the Homeless Not Toothless charity of all places, he's like, which one would you bang? I do Erica. It's like, oh my god, you still are awful, but
and then he gives Mo like as a thank you gift, like for like a Versace belt that looked like, I'm not like I shop at Old Navy, but it looked horrific, and I was like, where is Mo gonna even wear this? Also, speaking of Mauricio, though, I mean, now the head of the agency, but this guy seems to have all the time in the world. Like, I feel like we work our asses off doing what we do. This guy is like first one on the ski hill. He's able to go run errands for Kyle, go walk the dog. Doesn't like the agency, from what my understanding is, a really big, like I'm assuming
nice that's to be boss, baby.
Nice he has the because Freier is there behind like a big stack, like all these stacks of papers, and those British brothers from $1 Million Listing, they're still working at the agency. They really work there, so they're probably being like, Mo's out of town. We got to take care of all this. If we don't take care of all this, then everything's going to go wrong. We're going to go wrong. We're brothers and we're British.
I like the thought of Freier as his Pandora. I think that's just a great pandy. Okay, so we're almost closing up. But I mean, in terms of Beverly Hills, I just think it's like I'm ready for this season to be over. I think the Rinna thing is hysterical. This is a common thought all the time, but you guys have seen this over the course of 10 years. It's all of a sudden not just the show anymore, but it's the show, and then all the Lisa Rinna had been complaining about Aspen since they filmed Aspen 7 months ago. So by the time we actually get to the actual show, it's just like wah wah. Like, do you have any opinions on like?
Wait, it was not wah wah. It was not wah wah.
Excuse me. Wah wah.
It was the exact opposite because we found out this is all because of a conga line. That's the exact opposite of wah wah. That is a ha ha.
Okay, wait. You're right. The conga line is the specificity that I was talking about, but in terms of Rinna going, like Rinna just, you had the Patrick Summers character, you had all these IG accounts like in DMs with like Lisa, like trying to plot again. It was wild. So there's this whole fucking hierarchy that's going on online that Bravo doesn't seem to be able to have any control over, because I just think it kind of dilutes the actual show. But maybe that's just me because I'm old and I'm like a fuddy-duddy. I just feel like there's got to be some reins put on these ladies where it's like, have a little interaction online, but Rinna can't like get to the point where she's fighting everybody online and then say, I need to block everybody,
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, she really did it to herself this year. And we were talking before about how like even Great British Baking Show people will go crazy from being on TV. Rinna has just lost her damn mind. I mean, this stuff that she has been trying to set up since the beginning of the season, again, it's not the first time she's done it. And to see it all come to this and it just be a big letdown, that's part of Beverly Hills. If you're not feeling let down at the end of Beverly Hills, they didn't do their job.
That's a great way to look at it. I never looked at it that way of like, it is by the end of the season a disappointment. And I pray to God Andy doesn't try to do a 5-part reunion. I just like, nobody's trying to set records here. Like, let's just keep it at I think a good 3. We just finished Real Housewives of Atlanta. I enjoyed the season. I thought it was like, okay, this is Housewives. There wasn't anything by the 3rd part of the reunion. I was kind of like, I get it. What did you guys think of Atlanta this season, if you could sum it up?
I mean, I like enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I didn't think it was amazing. I was amused by it. I think that I think Marlo and Drew and Sheree bring like some very important delusion that these shows need. And I'm not even trying to be funny right now. Like, I think Real Housewives really thrive on delusional cast members. And Real Housewives of Atlanta hasn't had too much delusion. It's been more just like funny, shady, sassy women who are just like, they grill each other and they come at each other, but there's not a lot of delusion. So I think having someone like Drew, who is like actively trying to do a pyramid scheme for all of America, and like we all see it, is like hilarious. I think Marlo is hilarious. I think Sheree is hilarious. So I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, but it still is not amazing.
I mean, I thought it was a terrible season. I think they've had a few terrible seasons now in a row, and they've got to do something. I mean, it started off good. I was actually glad with the Drew stuff when it started because, like he said, the delusion was so funny.
Dropping it with Drew, man. And I think I saw Drew get bigger during the season. I was like, this is wild.
I mean, it started off great, and I really was like, this is going to be it. The season it comes back. And I think the problem is Kenya, Candy, all these people are bored. They're bored as hell. They look bored. They don't want to really invest in a real way, and I think it shows. And that reunion was sad. It was a dull, terrible reunion. And the fact that they don't have major meetings over there going, this reunion sucked. We heard the air conditioning hum in this reunion. How bad.
To keep cutting to the birds making noises. Like to keep, it was that silent where they would make it like seem so silent that you could pick up the birds all of a sudden.
Yes.
I don't know if that was deliberate, but it was like, oh, okay. And then Marlo was trying to be on her best behavior by the second part of the reunion after she gave her speech. And I'm like, that's not Marlo.
It's not what it is. And the fact that they're like, oh, the whole cast is coming back. I'm like, okay, you guys just don't fucking pay attention, or you don't watch your show. And I get that they want to kind of keep what's good, but they need to be more fearless, because I think right now they're just like, well, okay, it was passable. So no, Atlanta's my favorite one. Atlanta is by far, to me, the funniest one they've ever had. And so to let it just go to mediocrity is boo.
I do
boo from me.
I do think the season started off pretty strongly, and then when they went to New York, that New York trip sort of lacked. It sort of like killed the momentum, and the season never really recouped from that. But I liked it more than I thought I would. But I agree, it was still not overall not a very good season.
I did tear up. I mean, a second about the She by Sheree thing at the very end, just because I'm a wussy like that. But then I saw the prices and I was like, oh, well, that's like, I mean, that is classic Housewives of like, we've been like rooting you on and on and on. And all of a sudden, like an $8 piece of fabric, you're going to charge 230. You're not Kanye West. You're not like, I'm like, my God, like there's so much goodwill towards Sheree in terms of this. And then to do what she did, I was like, how Housewives is this? This is so classic to take goodwill and just turn it against yourself.
I mean, so quickly too, right? Because she did that first. The site went down, then it comes back up, then the prices are insane. Then people started posting where those clothes are really from. They're none of the ones that she designed. And then someone's online claiming he designed all those dresses that we saw. She never paid him, so they never put those into production. Then it's just you can
sell it. You can buy a She by Sheree notebook for the low cost of $30. A spiral notebook. Spiral notebook.
If she had just priced all that stuff relatively cheaply, everyone would have just bought one as like a joke for novelty. And she would have done so much in terms of volume. And then she could have started to raise those prices. But coming on high, like it's Lululemon, no. No, we saw the production process.
I believe in myself. I'm like, no, you don't. We know you don't believe in yourself. Also, don't try to act tough now and just like, okay. So Atlanta, obviously they made an announcement today. I don't know if that's true or not, that everybody is coming back, but who knows if that's true. Moving on to Southern Charm, which I thought was just, I mean, it still is just a mess of a show, like a mess of a show. But then I've weirdly really started enjoying watching it. And I don't know, I think I'm watching it because of the like it's so hypocritical on so many levels. And then, but like the only thing I will say, it's like, Leva, you can't, like, I've seen Leva do a whole one-act play with her son. Like, you can't.
Yeah, it's getting old.
By the end, like, on the season finales, you're going to make a souffle? Like, is it all lead up to something for this kid? Because we've seen him bake now for 30 episodes in a row. Poor Vanita has to go to these things by herself and get shit on or not invited. And I don't feel like that's fair to Vanita. And then these men are just insane. They are each Craig's pointing out like Austin, you got to get over Madison. And then Craig, like, if Naomi says like boo, he's like, you're not invited to my party. Like, what do you guys think about Southern Charm this season?
Yeah, Craig is really toxic. Someone actually wrote a comment on our House of the Dragon recap to bring it back to that, and basically said that Kristen Cole is essentially Craig. And I was like, oh, that is actually true. That is very true. But I mean, I have to admit, I really like Southern Charm. I like the season. I won't even say that I'm an apologist because I've never been a Southern Charm apologist, but I actually enjoyed last season. I'm enjoying this season. Southern Charm has always been kind of like a messy, formless show. I think people forget that. They've only had one season that had like a really stirring through line, and that was the Ashley season, because you had like a really strong villain there, and you had like a protagonist in Catherine that season, so it felt like a really vibrant season. But if you look at every season, it kind of just sort of like flops around, and the guys do something awful, maybe the girls gang up on something, but usually they don't, but the girls are just like reacting to the guys being terrible. And I feel like this is not that different from it. So I'm enjoying it. I like it. It's a nice end of the week treat for me.
They need some, it's good, and then it's terrible. Like, it's been really good. It came back, right? I feel like it came back. And then this last episode they had where they were all in St. James, and it just shows you all the cracks, It can't just be about a bunch of bloated coke heads who are probably going to be broke in 2 months. You know what I mean? That's the fun part of it.
I'm tired of people making fun of me, like in front of Austin. And then whatever Austin was going through that week, Austin finally got some balls, even though he like laid like destruction on Summer. Like, I don't get Austin. Everybody's like, oh, Austin, he's standing up for Taylor and all that. Where was Austin when he was banging his way through Summer House, treating all those girls like shit? Like, where was the Austin talking to Austin during that? And now he's upset at Shep.
That's why he's doing it. Austin's just acting like that to get all the women nice to him in bars again, so he can get laid. And it's obvious to everybody, and it's working.
He needs to hook up at BravoCon, man.
Don't forget the timing of this. Okay, this is happening post Friendsgiving. So Winter House has pretty much kind of started to wrap up, and we've started to, like, by the end of Winter House is when Austin really started to go downhill, right? Like, because even on Southern Charm before Winter House, like there's a lot of eye rolling about Austin, like he sucks, but like Winterhouse is really when his reputation started to get really in the shitter. So you got to imagine that maybe he's watched this on Winterhouse and he goes into this vacation being like, I got to change my reputation or whatever. So that's what we're seeing with him and Taylor. That is my theory.
And
that's
what does that by ruining Shep. It's all a way to like, oh, Shep's, and Shep is terrible. Like
Shep is terrible, but it is funny. Like Shep never. Like it's like Shep is so stubborn that he'll almost admit that he's terrible, but he's like, but that's my right as a poet. Like he thinks of himself as like Bukowski or something like that. He always thinks like I'm a Kerouac kind of figure,
That is such a good call.
He's like, Taylor, I told you I'm a piece of shit. Like I dare, like it's almost like he's daring her to break up with him, which I think is actually what ended up happening after the season. But it is funny because he's so sensitive at the same time, but I just love, he also just thinks of himself as a scholar. So he'll try to think of like these he's like, it's like I'm in a video game machine and I can't get past the first level. And he's like trying to think of like, and Taylor's like, wow, what an example. What a cool guy. And then poor Whitney's 57 years old. Naomi even says this episode, hey, he needs to get his sleep. And do we even buy Naomi and Whitney? Like we finally saw them kiss, but it seemed like that. Like Luke and Leia in Star Wars when they kiss and then you find out they're brother and sister down the line. Like it's so awkward.
It's weird, but like that. But then again, like I never believe Whitney hooking up with anyone and then he does, and it's strange. I don't know.
I don't believe it. I think that Naomi, they're probably still friends and she wanted to come back after her whole breakup and he's the producer and she's like, but I don't have a storyline. He's like, well, we can date. Like what is Whitney?
And Miss Mitchell's like, okay, that's great.
Yeah,
can we have a dog
wedding?
Yeah.
She's
she gets
French.
the narration spot. And
well, in your normal lives, wouldn't you ever feel so embarrassed if you had to be like, tell a story to somebody and then be like, and I got so upset at them at the dog wedding or Friendsgiving? Like it always like the thing that they got into a fight at, you have to say, and then it's like dog wedding. Like it's ridiculous.
Brian, you live in Los Angeles. Don't act like this is not part of our daily lives. All this crazy bullshit for crying out loud. We've all been to this ridiculousness. Okay, don't act like it. Don't act like here in Los Angeles, people do normal things.
I actually used to throw themed dog birthday parties, and it would be at her office, and I would take off work to go to the themed dog because I love my dog, and it would be themed, and it would be so sad because she was the boss, and it would be all her employees like standing around with like cake, just going like happy birthday to the dog, like, and it was it's very.
So you just were projecting your experience with this dog birthday party.
Isn't that what we're all doing? Right? We're all projecting. Yeah.
Well, I actually do think we're all projecting, which is actually I think why I like Southern Charm. I think the whole Southern Charm, Winter House, Summer House thing, it works for me because it kind of gives the vibe of a group of friends, whether or not they're like real friends. It's a real circle. It like at least is giving that in a way that Vanderpump Rules has tried to pivot towards that doesn't work. Like Vanderpump Rules is like so unbelievable when they try to do similar things, and it's just like not quite the same vibe. Yeah.
Also, I like Southern. I think what Southern Charm has going for it is it really does seem like a local show, and I think a lot of the shows look like, okay, we've watched all the Housewives, so we're just going to copy what they've done, but it's in a different setting. Whereas this one, they're literally like, let's just do coke all night on camera, and then they'll just be like, hey, you know what? I don't want to go to work, and they just don't go. They just don't show up.
I love, and Craig's so proud of the man he is now. He's like, to Naomi, he's like, I just think it's a shame because I think you would really like the guy I am now, like earlier in the season. And then he just shouts at her the rest of the season. But I remember Craig when he wouldn't even mail his law shit. Like,
he was like a compulsive liar.
Like that. And now he has a pillow store and a law firm or whatever. Like he's multiple businesses. And what do you guys think of him with Paige? Have you liked the addition of Paige onto Southern Charm?
At first I'd liked them together. I don't think I have an inherent problem with them being a couple, but I have to say I think that Southern Charm has started to ruin them because it's made Paige look kind of mean, and Craig is on his high horse, and I don't love that. I'm
anti-Paige now, and I used to love Paige, but I can't with Paige now. Like starting with Summer House, she just looks like a vindictive, mean little cool girl. I don't like her, and I think she used to be like, she's still gorgeous, like she still looks the same, but I used to think of her as like this gorgeous, fashionable, really smart, not going to take any shit from anybody, but also still like relatable to anybody, not just the other cool girls. And I feel like now she's kind of losing that. And also, I don't believe for a second that if this wasn't TV, that she would be dating Craig. Not for 1 second.
Really? That's interesting.
I do believe
his ass a long time ago.
I actually do believe it. Like, but I'm going to admit something that 2 days ago, I unfollowed Paige with my personal Instagram. And and the reason why
that's big for you. Well, I mean, that's like burning her house down for you.
Let me tell you something. I still really, despite everything, I still really love Paige. Honestly, even though I do think this is like her mean girl. Like, I'm not gonna say phase, but like right now she's in the mean girl moment. But I still really like her. But I was scrolling through my personal Instagram and like it was like another image of her in an outfit, and I was like, I don't know. I was like, for some reason, I was like, does Paige follow me? And I looked. She follows Crappens. She follows Ronnie. She doesn't follow me. And the thing is this though,
not anymore, I bet. I'm just like, fuck Paige. Hey, let's get a parade called Fuck Paige.
But here's the thing though. Last October, I went to a taping of Watch What Happens Live as just an audience member. And I went, and then Ariana from Vanderpump Rules, she was the guest. And so Ronnie and I are friends with Ariana. We're like legitimately friends with her. And so I went and hung out with Ariana after the show. And so after the show, we went up and we went to a bar, and Craig was there, and Paige was there, and Sierra was there.
Was that the one when Austin was there too? Because I remember texting with Ariana. I was like, do not hang out with Austin. And she's like, he's a nice guy. And I'm like, no.
I don't know if Austin was in town or not, but we were all at a bar. Paige was great. She was amazing. Yeah. She's like, oh my God, you guys are so funny. Like when you guys make fun of my mom, that's like hilarious. She was great. Craig was super sweet and charming. So seeing them together in person, they had like natural chemistry. So that's why, I didn't want to be like, I've seen them in person, so I believe it. But I felt it. And Paige was great. And so I think that's why when I was like, wait a second, we've actually interacted in real life, and we had a fun time, and then you're not following me, but I'm sitting here watching you with your outfits. And I was like, you know what? I think for my own,
you don't deserve to see my perfect apple crisp. You don't deserve to see my perfect food I make.
I have been a Paige supporter since the beginning, and I'm down to refollow her. But I felt like, rather than me feel kind of like shitty about not being followed by Paige, I decided I would just level the playing field.
Dude, I don't even know. Like, I don't know who I follow or who I hope people don't do that with me. Like, well, he doesn't follow. I don't know.
I've stopped paying attention. I've had to stop paying attention because, then recently, sometimes I'll still fall into that of like, oh, I'll check out this Bravo Leb. And I found out recently 2 Bravo Lebs unfollowed me, I think in the same week. And it was just so hurtful. It was like, and you guys but Leah McSweeney and
your favorite.
I mean, at the time had a crush on her
at the time.
And Leah McSweeney and Captain Sandy both followed me. And I've got to tell you, like Captain Sandy was like a follower from like 6 months ago. I don't even talk about Below Deck Med, even though I watch it. And thank God she didn't follow me 2 years ago when that Hannah shit went down, because I was just making really bad Captain Sandy memes. And maybe I don't think she scrolled through, but I mean, I got to tell you, I still am not mature enough to separate my account from me, where I'm like, I'm a good person. Why, Leah? Why? What did I do?
Well, I will say sometimes Instagram does like cause unfollows. Like, and that's not like speaking of Ariana, there was one time I looked down and it said, look, like I wasn't following her. I was like, I definitely follow Ariana. So I followed her and I sent her a message like, I don't know what happened. But like, so that does happen. I think in this case, if it had been that Paige followed Watcher Crappens, but not me, I'd be like, okay, I get it. But she followed Watcher Crappens and Ronnie, but then not me. And I was like, so you mean
what if Paige breaks you guys up? Paige totally breaks
it's not
up
a jealousy thing. It was like the intentionality that she's that I was like, okay, you know what? Well, I'm going to unfollow and then we can repair this. I don't think she cares to repair. She like literally.
No, I bet she actually does. I mean, Well, so Southern Charm, but we already know Summer House is done filming for the season. They got rid of some like Luke and like I like Alex. I feel like everybody should get 2 seasons, even if Alex just eats protein.
No,
I don't
Alex,
care.
No, Alex.
No, come on.
No.
See, to me, that's so funny to watch somebody awkward. Like that is so like let him blossom.
Awkward,
I agree.
I could take, but just a meathead talking about protein, like get the fuck out of here.
He's kind of snotty.
I can see that anywhere. Get out.
He was snotty. He had one good moment, and that was during the reunion. And that was it. And he seems very nice, but snotty.
Yeah. Well, but now we see Craig, and I think our buddy Dave Quinn, who I really like, wrote, like he's writing People magazine articles again, and he wrote, I think he was the author of the Craig Conover press release that he lost 20 pounds recently. And it was like this was like a month and a half ago.
Craig lost 20 pounds, or Craig
lost 20 pounds.
You
Craig,
know what? Fuck my life. I'm not even going to try anymore.
No,
like, what's the point? What is Craig losing 20 pounds for? What's that even look like on Craig?
Ronnie, if you read the article, he felt he couldn't take his shirt off anymore, and he felt ashamed. And he worked hard. He still drinks, but he works hard, and now he says he's once again comfortable to take his shirt off again. And then I saw a picture of like him at the Summer House with his shirt off, and you could just tell, and and it's like, it's Craig with the shirt off, but it's like, I just thought that was funny that for him, this was something that I need to press release. A 20-pound weight loss for Craig, which, by the way, he still looks good. 20 pounds less.
Why are you doing this to us, Ryan? Why are you doing this to us?
Why
are you making us feel
obsessed over this stuff? Right? I'm like,
I obsess over this stuff. I need to lose. I need like 60 pounds during quarantine.
No.
Like,
The thing is this, because the one thing we feel like we have over Craig is some kind of discipline, and now that's gone.
But it's not going to last. And by the way, when you guys have discipline, you don't PR it to People magazine of like Ronnie and Ben. They get their podcasts out on time.
I will once I have discipline for my body, for sure.
Well, speaking of,
it'll never happen.
One thing that I love are the previews for this week's Southern Charm. That Leva got out of her kitchen and stopped leaving events and calls Craig out on like, here's all the real people who run your businesses.
And then Craig is like, you know what? You can get out, or I'll have security take you out. Like Craig really does not mind like throwing down like forceful insults towards women of like, I'll have you removed.
Exactly.
Like, that's wild.
Well, that's Craig. That's why I'm saying Paige would not be dating Craig, because all that Paige goes on about how the men treat the women on that show, which is why I like her. It's like she's finally standing up to these douchebag men, but then she's with Craig, who treats women. And I'm not saying the Leva thing specifically, but just how he goes at people. It's like,
wouldn't Paige be embarrassed that like, oh, dude, my current boyfriend is obsessed with his ex. Like she can't say one thing without him freaking out. I mean, like I would think that would kind of upset me of like, why do you care still?
Yeah.
I mean, but it's like Austin with Madison. Like you bring that name up. Like what did these women do to these men that they are like the most sensitive? And I've been there, I guess, but like, it's just wild over there in Charleston. It's like they all encourage the men to be insane about their behavior towards women.
And then, it's like you see the whole season he's been lying to Paige and saying Naomi's obsessed and all this, which is not true. He banged Naomi in Vegas, then he said let's be friends, then tried to be friends and be like, can't we at least go to coffee? And Paige said
he banged her 2 times. He banged her once when they got back from Vegas too.
Oh yeah. So then he's like, well, can't we just go to coffee? And she's like, no, Craig, that is like literally insane for women. So he's like, okay. So then he shows up and just starts yelling at Naomi and calling her a stalker and all this. And that Paige sees this and sees that she was totally lied to. And he's obviously still obsessed that she's still dating Craig. I'm like, I don't buy that. I just don't buy it. That's not the Paige I saw. I
get upset because he has like a really nice podcasting setup. Like you always see like the mic hanging down.
Yeah.
His bit. I'm like, fuck you, Craig. Just make your pillows. Let us have like a podcasting setup. Like that's ridiculous. I have a couple more minutes with you guys. Are you doing BravoCon?
We're not going. No. Are you?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh my God!
Cool.
Good for you.
Very
but not
excited.
not in an official capacity.
You're going to go as a. You're just going to go.
Just going to go as me as a fan. But
that's gonna be so fun.
Well, yeah, like I don't tour or anything, so like I want to meet people that like listen.
Yeah.
And say, like there's going to be a lot of those people, so I'm excited in that. I'm nervous though because like Craig's blocked me. Like there's like I'm nervous.
Blocked you?
Yeah, I think it was because I did like those law photos he took where he's like. And and you know, like he has a whole website like Conover and Company or whatever. And I said, you know, I used that image and I was like, there's only one man that can represent Erica Jane. And like, I think that upset him. And
I did that too.
Yeah. And then Paige blocked me. Paige blocked me because, because I said, I did like a super cut of all the time she lays down. And I said, Paige does her best work on, like, you know, and it wasn't a sexual thing. It was like literally everything happens for Paige. Like every scene happens in bed. And then I had pointed out that her and Craig, even their scenes at the beginning of Southern Charm, were in bed. I mean, it was not them hooking up. It was just them laying there. And I just thought, what an interesting thing is like Paige really excels at that. So I can understand all of it, but I'm not,
you guys,
know.
We're assholes. Like it's funny. And I tell Ben this when we have these talks, like we're such jerks. And the fact that we sit here like, my feelings.
I know,
dude.
Week in, week out, we make fun of these people for doing the small things. Like, look at the way that Paige held that dandelion.
I'm the biggest pussy ever, dude. Like, I still live in fear of Jax Taylor.
Rinna unfollowed me last year or 2 years. I don't even know, 2 years ago. And it's because I messaged her and I was like, oh my God, look at the masks we made. Because it was when COVID started. And so we were making masks, you know, and I was like, look at these masks we made. And it's Rinna lips. And they like, you put on the mask and then the lips are like out to here. And I thought she would like them because I mean, that's her thing, lips. And then she unfollowed me.
Well, because you didn't cut her in. She wants 50%. She's like, those are my jacked up lips, you know?
But I was thinking later, who does that? Like, why would you send that to somebody? Like, here's an insane...
Yeah,
you know, your lips are covering your, like, why wouldn't that hurt someone's feelings?
We push it so much, and we're always so surprised when people are upset. We're always like, I can't believe.
I know. That's what I'm like,
I can't believe she wouldn't follow me after I make fun of her every week.
Yeah. No, I should have no expectation of any of these people.
I know, but
ridiculous.
You know what? I'll tell you why.
Hi, you want to go to lunch?
I'll tell you why, because we live in this very strange space where we are both critics and fans at the same time. And so like the critic part of me, like the quote unquote critic, like that sounds too elevated, but like as a podcaster, you know, we make fun because we're reacting to what we see on screen. We're reacting the way any audience member does. And then we like to say how we felt watching it. But at the same time, we're also fans. And like those two things don't always sit well together. And in our minds, I think we're really good about compartmentalizing. Like, I'm in podcast mode now, so I'm going to say blah, 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 blah. And then like, now I'm in fan mode. Oh my God, I want to get a picture with this person. And we understand it because we understand which mode our brains are in at any given moment. But if you're on the receiving end of it, you just see it as like just ultimate fakery, I guess. And it's like why would you take the time to understand that?
You're so right. Like last night I was talking about Southern Charm for the show and I was like going in on Shep and Austin, but at the same time, I would have a drink with Shep. I would love it. I would have like I'm not looking to sleep with Shep. I would have a drink with him and like talk about, I would love to hear him bro talk, you know, like that would be fascinating to me. But yeah, I have no reason to feel bad about any of these things, yet I still do. And Winter House, by the way, the trailer looked amazing. Salt Lake and Potomac come out in the next couple of weeks. Yeah. I'm insanely excited about both. Are you guys looking forward to recapping those?
Oh, 100%. Salt Lake is like one of my, now that Ronnie is like nowhere to be found, Salt Lake, I think might be my favorite one to recap these days. I think like the variety of impersonations that we can do on that, like that's like one of my favorites. I'm super excited about that. And Potomac also, we have a lot of impersonations, but I mean, and both shows also are really good. Those are casts that understand, quote unquote, the assignment, that know that their job is to interact with each other and say what's on their mind and not protect anything. They just have to they just lay it all out there, and they do a great job. Those are two wonderful shows.
I know me and Ronnie saw the Salt Lake already. You have it, but you haven't watched it.
I haven't watched it yet.
I got to tell you, it was just really not like, it was like after what, like being where I am with Beverly Hills and Southern Charm, to watch Salt Lake, I just felt a nice breath of fresh air. But it's also just insane because I think it'll be out by the time you guys listen to this, is that it's the main conceit is that the fight really is between Meredith and Lisa, and Jen, once again, I feel kind of escapes. And it's from the first episode, it's more of a, not pity for Jen, but there is a, Jen is still a hero in the show. Like,
She's
did you get the
human.
sense in the first episode,
They've
Ronnie,
decided that Jen is not guilty and she's going to be found innocent. And this whole season, they started shooting this season pretty close to when they ended the last one. Like they didn't stop because they wanted.
They knew she was going to jail. Yeah.
So the bitterness is not had any time to relax. Like they are still pissed about the reunion. So it just starts right where it left off, and they're pissed. And Jen is still pretending she's just innocent, like giving a speech at a party, like, you guys, this might be the last time I can have a birthday with my husband, and we can meet again. I'm like, hopefully, you fucking trash. I can't believe.
And Coach has a talking head where he goes, I tear up when I think about my wife not being with me. And it's like tears of joy. Like this guy looks like he's been put. I mean, he comes in the first scene. He's like, long day, babe, long day. Could you make me some tea or coffee? And she's like, of course, babe. And like, he just looks beaten down, which I'm sure any of this would do. Yeah, of course. Mm-hmm. But I'm saying
not only from the crimes, but from the moving. I mean, this is like their fourth rental in 3 years. Like, give the guy a break.
I always like when they move to a different rental and it's still better than anywhere I've ever lived. And they're like, we're downsizing. And I'm like, when are you going to downsize to where I am?
Yeah, this downsizing is not fair. She's like, look at my sad little house. It's still a mansion.
But I think that Salt Lake City, like Salt Lake and Potomac, what works so well about them is that they've got a deep roster. They've got Salt Lake has such a deep roster, a deep, rich roster that they could have someone who is like possibly going away for 30 years. And like, that's not their A story. And that's what it was last season. Yes. Too. Like last season, it was like, that was like part of the mix, but there were still so many other crazy things going on. Like how does this
Jen's
happen?
A marketing genius. Because I said last season, I said, what an idiot that for her to go back on and film this season. What an idiot. And then by the end of the season, I was like, wow, she escaped. Like, I mean, nobody, there was not, they made Beverly Hills look like those ladies were interrogating Erica compared to what Jen Shah got. And I was like, she looks good. Jen Shah actually ended up this season looking good, which was shocking. I'm curious where this season 3 takes us, because we do know she eventually completely changes her plea, which will be kind of exciting. And the way you say about the roster, I feel like Potomac right now is like their roster. I don't watch a lot of sports, but I watched The Last Dance, that Michael Jordan Chicago Bulls sports documentary during the pandemic. Yep. And that's what I feel. I feel like they're the fucking Bulls, man. They got Scottie Pippen, they got Michael Jordan, they got all these, like they're raw. You could throw it to any of those ladies. And I'm not even the biggest fan of Giselle, but I love what Giselle does. Like, I'm like, I love her talking heads. I love her relationship with Robin. I don't know. You guys, I love you guys so much. I wish I could talk to you forever. And that's why I think you're so popular, because everybody wants to listen and talk to you guys forever. Watch What Crappens, of course, is the show. WatchWhatCrappens.com is where you go for all of it. Their Patreon is the Patreon of all Patreons. Are you going to be like the Dead and Company, the Grateful Dead offshoot with John Mayer just announced they're doing their final tour this next summer of 2023. Are you going to keep going like the Dead? Will you eventually call it quits? What is the master plan when you guys think about touring? Are you gearing up again for Crappens 23? What can you give us any hints?
Hell yeah.
I'll be making fun of people till I die. I might as
that's
well
it. Okay, that's
some advertising dollars from it.
Crappens 2023 is 100%.
This is sponsored by Xfinity Mobile, you guys.
Yeah, no kidding.
We can't announce anything yet.
They cancel my ass, and that could be any day.
But what I'm saying is the Watch What Crappens is healthy and happy, and it will be continuing on for seasons and seasons to come, because it would be like Howard Stern when he leaves the airwaves eventually, even though I disagreed with some of his earlier stuff. I just loved him, or when like David Letterman left, or Oprah, or any, like it would just really break my heart and everybody. So thank you for doing this today.
Fine. We're okay.
Ben, Ronnie said you were sick a couple months ago. I just want to make sure you're okay,
I had
man.
COVID, but I am okay. Thank you. And thank you, by the way, so much for filling in that day, because I would have been like, it's
so horrible that I was like, oh my God, my prayers for Ben or Ronnie to get sick have finally come true. And they've finally gotten me. You guys know my audience. I was so nervous. I was like, I was like taking notes like the wind. And it was just
hilarious. That was like 2 hours and something.
Oh, I kept him. Oh, dude, Ben, I kept him going. Ronnie was like, stop.
That's what I'm always
like, no, let's do a
I'm
bit.
always trying to do it. That's that. Welcome to my world. I'm always throwing bits at Ronnie until he finally relents.
Well, you guys have started
you,
it all.
Ryan.
You gave me a passion
Thanks,
for this.
Ryan.
And thank you. I'll talk to you guys hopefully in another year or so. But if anybody ever gets sick again, I'm available.
Okay, we'll keep that in mind.
We love you, Ryan.